Tell me, what is the one thing you're looking forward to the most from Dragon Ball Sparking Zero? Hey everyone, I'm SmugStick, welcome back to the channel, and if it's your first time here, welcome! Tenkaichi 4. What a day to be alive. What once used to be just a conglomerate of modded Tenkaichi 3 games made by the Latino Dragon Ball community is now a real game. It will have a lot to prove, as it's perhaps the single most anticipated game in Dragon Ball history. So, here are my predictions and wishlist for features and characters in Sparking Zero. The most obvious thing to begin with is the characters, so let's start there. Obviously, as many people have pointed out, the inclusion of Bergamo in the trailer means that we're probably gonna get some deeper cut characters. I think everyone who is a canon character and already in Xenoverse is more than likely going to make it in. This means people like Ribrianne, Beast Gohan, Frost, etc. I kinda hope we get at least one representative of each universe that participated in the Tournament of Power to have fights against them in a possible story mode, which I'll talk about later on. I think the iffier characters are people like the Angels and the Gods of Destruction. Beerus and I think Champa are probably going to make it in. Beerus is a no-brainer, but Whis and Vados, I think those are a little bit more up in the air. I hope we at least see Whis, but I'm not really counting on Vados at all. GT characters are also a toss-up when it comes to Dragon Ball games, same with movie characters. However, the original teaser for Sparking Zero started with a retrospective look through the older games, including shots of Super Saiyan 4 Goku. More likely than not, GT characters will be in the game. I predict Goku, Pan, Oob, Vegeta, Baby, Super 17, and Omega Shenron as nearly guaranteed characters to make it in. However, I do hope we get characters like GT Trunks, Goten, Ice, and Nova Shenron. Ice and Nova have been in the Tenkaichi games in the past, but the boys are rarely seen. In fact, it feels like Xenoverse 1 was the only game to really include GT Trunks at all. Super characters are harder to predict since there is so many that are possible. Although I definitely don't think characters from the manga have nearly enough chance to make it in, at least until we get them adapted. Sadly, no Moro nor Granola this time around, but it isn't exactly a 0% chance. Maybe Shueisha will make some sort of deal, but the fact that we haven't even gotten them in Dokkan Battle speaks volumes. When it comes to OG Dragon Ball, these characters are often rarer to see, but Tenkaichi always made it a point to include some of them. I definitely think we will get Kid Goku and probably King Piccolo. Even Tao Pai Pai I think will make it in. But any other character is honestly a little bit more iffy. Nam, Tambourine, and Cyborg Tao I kinda doubt we'll get. In fact, the one that has the most chance out of those three is probably Cyborg Tao. Remember, just because they said this will be the biggest roster yet, doesn't mean we'll have every single character from previous games. After all, if we include Dragon Ball Z characters and the Dragon Ball Super characters, the ones that I think are gonna make it in already make up way more than the characters from Budokai Tenkaichi 3, even without counting GT and DB. Even so, I do hope we get the return of Grandpa Gohan, General Blue, and Pilaf Machine in particular. As far as new characters go, my wishlist includes Teen Chi-Chi, Kid Krillin, a version of Bulma, and maybe even Kami. Part of me wishes we would get Teen Goku, Teen Piccolo, and Teen Tien, in particular because those three use moves that they never really use anywhere else in the series, like Piccolo's giant form, which wasn't shown again until very recently, defeat Kamehameha for Goku, and the multiform and multiple arms from Tien, which was only shown one more time I think in Dragon Ball Super. I also hope we get the tournament stage from OG Dragon Ball, but this one almost never makes it in, so I'm not exactly crossing my fingers. If Legends can include Bulma with a jetpack though, I think Tenkaichi 4 should too. I think all the Z characters from previous Tenkaichi games will probably be included, but I think Goku is not gonna have 3 versions of Z like last time. Instead, I think Goku Z and Goku Super will be 2 separate characters, as tweets from the game's account have mentioned Goku, parentheses, Super as a character specifically. Of course, we will also get GT Goku and Kid Goku. This likely means that Super Goku won't have access to the same moves or forms as Z Goku and vice versa, with Z Goku probably having Super Saiyan 2 and 3, while Super Goku would likely have Super Saiyan God, Blue Omen, and Ultra Instinct. It would be cool if instead of Blue Kaioken being a proper form, it's instead a power-up like the Kaioken used to be treated in older games, meaning you could possibly combine it with other Goku forms. Though, probably just wishful thinking at this point. Vegeta likewise will likely be divided between Z and Super, as well as Scouter Vegeta and GT Vegeta. Gohan and Piccolo may also get new versions to include their superhero forms. Other super characters I hope to be included are Teen Goten, Trunks, Monaka Magetta, and Botamo. Just these stranger characters that nobody really plays as, but you know, if I can have Magetta and Botamo fighting against, I don't know, Super Perfect Cell in a what if I make, why not? I'm just mentioning the ones I think are rarer, since obviously people like Black, Kefla, and Jiren are gonna make it in. Characters from the larger Dragon Ball universe have a higher possibility of making it in than ever before. Android 21 in particular has not only been in Fighters, but Kakarot Legends, Dokkan Battle, and even Dragon Ball Super Superhero. As a small cameo, she is more than likely gonna make it in, honestly. Mira, Towa, Fu, and those kind of characters are also popular, but to a lesser degree. In fact, now that I'm recording this, I realize that Android 21 has an SH figure arts, but I don't think any of the Xeno characters except for Xeno Trunks and the hero from Xenoverse 1 have ever had an SH figure arts. It doesn't seem like the heroes and Xenoverse stuff likes to mix too much with outside media. I hope they make it in, but if they do, I think it'll probably be something like DLC. I'm kinda hoping for even another Goku in the form of Xeno Goku. One thing I want to note is characters from the new anime, Dragon Ball Daima, will likely be DLC depending on when this game comes out. However, Dragon Ball games aren't strangers to having early characters, like in Xenoverse 2 having Dragon Ball Super Trunks and Goku Black as bonuses while the arc was still starting out. I do think it's possible we'll at least get Daima Goku, making it 3 Kid Gokus in the game. If we get him, I do think it's also possible we will get Daima Vegeta, or, follow me on this one, Daima Kaioshin. Vegeta is an obvious choice, but if rumors are to be believed, Kaioshin is gonna play a larger role in this new anime than ever before, so I think it's the perfect chance to include a new, different character. Also hoping we get regular Kaioshin, obviously, since he was in the Tenkaichi games. Dragon Ball movies have been well represented in the Tenkaichi games in particular. I don't doubt we will get all of the new movie characters like Orange Piccolo and Broly. As far as older movies go, Z Broly, Cooler, and Janemba are nearly guaranteed to be in the game. I would be surprised if not. Others like Turles, Tapion, Pikkon, and Garlic Jr. are a little less likely, but definitely possible. Finally, Dr. Wheelo, Hirudegarn, and Hachiak, kinda doubt it. They're not the most popular characters and are much rarer than the previously mentioned. But speaking of Hirudegarn, we haven't gotten any confirmations on giant characters, which were a staple in the Tenkaichi games. However, one of the things that sets Bergamo apart is his ability to transform into a giant. Perhaps this is an indication of it. I still maintain that giants are less likely here than in the PS2 games, but not impossible, especially seeing characters like Cell Max and Orange Piccolo being prominently featured in recent Dragon Ball media. Stages are the next thing I want to mention, and there is a huge focus on stage destruction this time around. The tagline, "Shake the earth, break the heavens," even alludes to this. This isn't new to Tenkaichi, but it does seem to be much more focused this time around. One thing I have personally been asking since Raging Blast has been stage transitions. This would likely only be possible on a limited amount of stages, but imagine punching someone down from the lookout and into the Lance of Korin, and continuing the fight down there. That would be so amazing. And Burst Limit had something similar to this, but in a 3D arena fighter, I think it would work a lot better. Fighters also has something similar. As far as stages go, we will see the usual suspects of Plains, the Wasteland, the World Tournament, Namek, etc. But thanks to Xenoverse, we've been getting some rarer stuff, like the new Tofa Planet from GT and the Tree of Might. I hope they take notes from that. I also hope for Planet Vampa and Kame House. In particular for Super, I believe we're gonna be getting the Universe 6 Tournament, the Tournament of Power, the Red Ribbon Army Base from Superhero, the Destroyed Future, Tundra from Broly, and maybe even Piccolo's home. One of my favorite stages in Tenkaichi 3 was Mount Pautsu, and we never really get this anywhere else. Here's hoping it makes a return. I also hope that, like in the old Tenkaichi and Raging Blast games, we get the option to choose the soundtrack before we enter the stage. Xenoverse and Fighters have a version of this, but the Tenkaichi games had it alongside the stage selection, which made it easier to do. Speaking of soundtrack, the last few Dragon Ball games, besides Fighters, has been kind of lacking in my opinion, besides a few things here and there. I kind of of doubt this is gonna happen here, but I hope they adapt songs from the anime like Kakarot did, especially now that we have Dragon Ball Super. Being able to fight alongside Limit Break X Survivor would be amazing. In fact, we didn't get this in the American version, but in all of these sparking games in Japan, the soundtrack was entirely composed of music adapted directly from the anime, from Dragon Ball to GT. It really made it feel like a Dragon Ball simulator, something I'm gonna talk about in a video game retrospective later down the line. Sadly, recently Namco has just been selling music packs with music from the anime, which doesn't even loop well, rather than including songs in the game. So that's probably gonna be our only option. Perhaps, and funny enough, my biggest wish on this list is probably a new animated opening with a vocal track. We haven't had a new vocal opening since Dragon Ball Fusions, I think, not counting Heroes, of course. Nowadays, if we do have an animated opening, it's just gonna be a reuse of Chala Chala by Flow. Hironobu Kageyama, the original singer of Chala Chala, We Gotta Power, and all those early 2000s Dragon Ball games, has been singing at the Dragon Ball Battle Hour. I know his relationship with Toei or something like that was a little rough around the edges, but I hope this is an indication we could possibly get a new song by him. Gameplay-wise, it has already shown features like deflections, which are returning from the Raging Blast games, but I wonder just how much of this will be Tenkaichi 4 as it will be Raging Blast 3. I think one of the main differences between the series is their approach to super attacks. Tenkaichi games locked you into a specific moveset, while the Raging Blast games allowed you a bit more freedom when assigning supers. I hope that there is more than 2 supers at a time, like in Raging Blast, but I do have to admit the ability to customize your super palette worked better in theory than in execution, with most characters not even having enough to change into. For this reason, I think we will get super attacks that can't be changed, but perhaps more supers per character via a button modifier, like in Xenoverse. I kinda doubt we will get much if anything from Tenkaichi Tag Team, as I think the multiplayer team battles will end up being Xenoverse's shtick, while Sparking Zero is gonna focus on tagging in and out team members, like in Budokai Tenkaichi and Raging Blast. Something people have pointed out is the lack of jetpack on Mr. Satan. This is interesting since non-flying characters are always given jetpacks in the games, especially since the Tenkaichi games didn't really let you have proper ground battle combat, and you always kind of just floated around. Could this mean that ground combat will be emphasized more? Will non-flying characters be able to compete at all? I'm sure they'll be able to a degree, and maybe the jetpack's just not there for the ultimate, but we shall see. As far as game modes go, I'm sure we will have stuff like tournaments, towers, and online play. However, my main focus here is the story mode. As much as I love getting my ass kicked online by random 12-year-olds, this story mode is where I largely spent my time. I honestly think adapting Dragon Ball Super and its movies for this game is the way to go. We haven't had a proper adaptation in any game, only alternate versions in Xenoverse. I wouldn't mind if we start from Z again, though I know a lot of people used to have a problem with that, and we just got Kakarot a few years back, which will tell the story better than this game probably can. But there is another option. We've been getting game original stories as of late, with stuff like Fighters, Xenoverse, and Fusions, and original characters like Android 21 and Charlotte. Perhaps this is the move again. I'd like this, as I'm always down to expanding the Dragon Ball universe, and seeing how Tenkaichi is so universally loved around the world, it's a perfect chance to do another promotion, bring out Toriyama one last time to make a new character design. This may not be the most important thing to my English-speaking audience, but if I can get a Latino dub for this game, I will be one of the happiest people in the world. If you've been following the Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi mods for as long as I have, you may remember that a large portion of how this started was by people trying to make a Latino version of Budokai Tenkaichi 3. Dragon Ball is incredibly popular over there. This isn't the most realistic thing, but it's also not unheard of. The last Saint Seiya game was dubbed in Spanish, with the original actors from the anime. So, crossing my fingers, I hope it happens. I'm kinda just rambling on here now, but I also want to mention various costumes I want for the game. Obviously, we're gonna have second colors, that's just necessary in a fighting game, especially if you're gonna have somebody else picking the same character as you, but I really hope we get weirder costumes, like Goku's casual outfit, outfit, Piccolo's driving outfit, the coats from Dragon Ball Super Broly, for example. It would be amazing. I also hope we get either a costume or a separate character for DBS Bardock or Dragon Ball minus Bardock. We haven't really seen him fight outside of the manga, so I think just having a costume would be better. As I mentioned Bardock, I'm also thinking now of Super Saiyan Bardock and what ifs could be in the game. Super Saiyan Bardock is in many Dragon Ball games nowadays. He makes a cameo in Fighters, he's in Xenoverse, so I think Super Saiyan Bardock has a good chance to make it in. Hopefully we get Lord Shield. I think that would be really cool. Personally, I think I'm one of the only Lord Shield fans out there. But what about other what ifs? The Tenkaichi games had what if story modes, but never really anything in terms of what if characters or stuff like that, like Budokai 2 had, for example, where you could absorb Vegeta and Tenshinhan and Yamcha as Super Buu. I hope we get something a little more here. More absorptions, what if fusions would be really fun. But I'm sure we're gonna get what if story mode sections. Maybe a whole what-if saga like Budokai Tenkaichi 3 did. Raging Blast as well had a pretty cool what-if story mode with a bunch of separate little ones. They weren't super in-depth, but they were fun enough. One thing I hope that definitely comes back from Tenkaichi 3 was the option to alter parts of the story depending on how you did in a fight. For example, one of my favorite ones I remember is, I think if you lost as Goku or something, or you defeated Broly before he transformed, you switched out into Master Roshi and you got to fight Broly as Master Roshi. Or if prompted, you pressed a button while fighting King Piccolo as Kid Goku, you would switch into Chi-Chi and Chi-Chi would fight Piccolo instead. That kind of stuff was always really fun. As far as presentation goes, the main menus in the Budokai and the Budokai Tenkaichi games never ever let down. I've always thought they were beautiful. In particular, Raging Blast 1 has one of my favorite game menus of all time, so I hope they go all out here. I think they've been going a little sleek when it comes to newer Dragon Ball games like Xenoverse, and it fits that vibe, but stuff like Fighters, for example, has a little bit more expression that I think Tenkaichi would really benefit from. Not saying that I want a hub world or anything like that. I think a menu would suffice just fine, but knowing Namco Bandai and how fighting games have been developing over the last few years, I think having a hub world is not only likely, but very much a possibility. I kind of hope we don't get one. I kind of want this to be more traditional. You just press a button, get to the menu you want instead of having a hub world. But I also wouldn't be completely against it. I'm sure I have so much more thoughts and predictions to make, but I kind of just wrote this to ramble about how excited I am for this game. I am also working on a retrospective of all the Tenkaichi games, so look forward to that. And if you like this video, why not check out an hour plus of Dragon Ball Facts, my Dragon Ball iceberg. I guarantee there is going to be something you didn't know about this beloved series. As always, thank you to the patrons of the channel, and thank you for watching.